There it is. I introduced how I bought the car and how it came about me having the opportunity to buy it and the whole process in the last video. In this one, I'm gonna give you my initial reactions to what makes it better than the 720. There's some very obvious ones, but there's some other ones that are a little bit weird that maybe are more specific to me, but either way, we'll go through them. I know it's super early on in my ownership, so things can change, but for now, we'll go through what my initial reactions are about why the 765 LT is an improvement over the 720. I can't express the joy and inspiration I get from owning a car like this. It is amazing. I think cars like this are special, not just because of the speed and the prestige of owning it, but for me, they're like works of art. Like I can sit and stare at them and just find little tiny creases and this like just overall beauty in a car the way other people can in different mediums of art. Not only do I get joy from looking at them, I also get the added experience, the feeling of driving them and the speed and sound and smells and all that come with it. And for me, putting the visuals with the feelings and the other senses makes sense why car people are so passionate about cars, but it also makes sense why people who maybe aren't as into cars think we're crazy. It's absolutely amazing to me still that I was able to be in a good enough position to be able to purchase a car like this. Such a huge step up in price, quality, exclusivity, and already the few places I've been in it, like I went to Supercar Saturdays, the people who instantly elevate you to their level because you own a more exclusive car was kind of surprising to me, but not. It's the same thing that happened when I got my first supercar and started wearing like more fancy watches and that kind of thing. There's certain groups of people that once you've elevated yourself, they somehow have decided that you're legitimate and you're worth their time to talk to. And so it's a really cool thing, and it's one thing why I say you should elevate yourself up as much as you can to get into the rooms you want to be in. So if you don't want to be in a room with those people, then don't worry about it. For me, as a business owner and wanting to expand my business, I think it's super important for me to get into those rooms with the other successful people so I can pick their brains or maybe create opportunities with the network that I'm building. So for me, it's a big, big deal, not only to own the car, but also to start getting included in the group of people who also own cars like this, because generally speaking, there's a level of success that is required to get into a car like this, and I want to be included in those groups and learn and grow from those people. And hopefully the business owners can add insight for me, and I could add insight and give value back to where we can all elevate each other to take the next step, which for me is going to be the Senate. So it not only pushes me in business, it also pushes me in my personal life to make sure that I'm always making my decisions based off my morals and ethics to make sure that I am happy and satisfied and content with my life instead of somehow feeling as if I have done something wrong or I'm cheating or something like that. Like you have to make sure that the inner voice is just as content as the outer excitement of owning things, or they become hollow. Enough of all that. Let's get to the thing this video is actually about, which is my initial impressions of what makes the 765 better than the 720. So first, right off the bat for me, is the more aggressive look. The 720 is an absolutely beautiful car, but it's a little too sleek for my preference, which is why the first McLaren I owned was the 600 LT, because side by side, the 600 looked more aggressive. I think the car, the 720, is a better overall car than the 600. Now that they've made the 765 so much more aggressive looking with the front splitter and the rear wing and the exhaust, quad exhaust coming out the middle of the bumper, even the mesh that they've put around the back, that is probably the most surprising thing that I like so far, is that mesh around the back. Now, of course, this one's got a roof scoop, the 720 doesn't, so that doesn't really work for comparison purposes, but overall just it does add to the aggressive look and feel of the car, which for me is the biggest noticeable difference between the 765 and the 720. Now when you get inside, obviously mine has the upgraded sport center seats and all the carbon fiber inside that my 720 didn't. Beyond that, it just feels and sounds more like I would want the car to feel and sound. The 720 was almost too quiet inside when you were driving. You couldn't really hear the exhaust sounds or any of the pops or anything. You could feel them a little bit, but that's it. With the interior of the 765 being a carbon tub with not a lot of carpet or any type of insulation to keep the sounds deadened, you get to hear so much more of the car, and it becomes so much more exciting to drive. Again, for me, that's what I'm looking for in cars like this. I mean, when you just look at the inside, it's hands down better. On top of that, driving it and the sounds, which are important to me, are night and day difference. So again, something so much better. Makes sense and needed to be to justify the price, but they did such a good job. I've mentioned the exhaust, but they made it titanium exhaust, so the tone you get from it makes it, even though it sounds like a McLaren, which if you hear McLarens, you know McLaren sound, it sounds actually like a nice crisp tone to where it just sounds a little bit different and unique. The more aggressive tune that I guess they put on it, it is a little more poppy and burbly and a little more feedback when you're doing the downshifts and stuff like that. So it's spectacular to go with that. Another amazing thing on the look is it's lower. So it just has a better stance. I get that you could probably still lower it a little bit to get that exact gap you want. Maybe put some spacers on the wheel to widen those out to get that nice flush look. But overall, just stock for stock, it looks way better to be lowered down a little bit. It has the front end lift, so you're not concerned about the scraping and that kind of stuff. As long as you use it and you're careful with how you drive it, all of that is not a big concern. So far, I have not found anything that is less impressive with the 765 than the 720, minus the rear view mirror in my specific 765 is pretty much worthless, and that's due to the roof scoop. You can't see anything at all out the back window or through the rear view mirror. Simple thing for me would be probably putting a camera system in to make it more like Chevy does, where it's a camera rear view mirror, so you could still see out the back if you want. But that's such a minor thing I have noticed and find funny, but it hasn't bothered me yet to take the time to try to find the solution for it. But overall, I don't think they could have improved more aspects of the car while still saying it's the same basic car, just with those improvements. It is such a night and day difference and so much more fun to drive. Hear and smell and feel and everything about it just took a 720 that was already an amazing car, and then they just took it to that next level, which is the goal of all the LTs. I think they knocked it out of the park with this one. Let me know what you think. Do you think there's anything possibly that they could have done better with this or dropped the ball on if you've seen one? The only thing, I mean, again, I know I'm beating a dead horse with this. The only thing I can really complain about is the lack of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's not so much for the apps or anything, but it's for when you're going somewhere to have the navigation. There's just not a great place to put your phone to look at to have the updated, better version of maps. 750's got it. If you want to wait, another 3 or 4 years, you could get whatever version they're going to come out with for their LT. But in the meantime, I think this, short of a Senna, is the best McLaren made, and I can't wait to drive it more and get a better feel for it and share all the new stuff I discover and the fun and excitement I get from driving it with you. So if there's absolutely anything you want to see or know or hear about specifically about a 765 LT, let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them, make a video for you, and show you exactly what it is and how it works. Give me a couple months, I'll go into a way more in-depth, point-for-point comparison between the 720 and the 765. This is just my initial impressions and how I draw inspiration from owning something like this. So with that, I'll see you on the next one.